Hello and welcome everyone. This is Mohammed Nias with you. And in this video, we are going to talk about Power BI report server. So we're going to start with Power BI, a brief introduction to what is Power BI. Then what are the different versions of Power BI, because there are cloud versions and also on-premises Power BI server also available. So we will talk about these different versions. Then the license requirement for on-premises Power BI report server. Then what are the infrastructure requirement, which how I prepared this demo. Then step-by-step installations of Power BI report server. So let's begin by defining what is a Power BI. Power BI is a technology from Microsoft for analyzing and visualizing the raw data, which means the data we have in Excel, or we can say as in SQL server or a CSV file. So data is available in different form with maybe 5,000 columns and rows. So all these data with Power BI, we can make it more presentable and actionable format by visualizing it. So this will give the decision makers an option to analyze those data properly with a better visualization using Power BI to take actions from the information. What you see in the small screenshot, the Power BI desktop get data, the common data sources. So from these sources, we can take the raw data and visualize it in a nice way, like you see in the right side. So this is what Power BI does. One of the confusion that I see in most of the people when they want to start with Power BI, how they start the Power BI have a desktop version, it have a cloud version, then some people say that it have on-premises version. So how to start is the common confusion when you start with Power BI. So the first thing, the on-premises Power BI desktop, which is a client application, you can install it in your Windows desktop, or you can install it in Windows Server also, but it is a client desktop application free for your local computer. And it provides the data analysis report creation tool where you can connect to different data sources. Then you can take those data and you can visualize it and you can analyze your data. So let's have a look of the Power BI desktop. So Power BI desktop is a client application. It's free. Anybody can download and install it. So I'm gonna download Microsoft Power BI desktop application. You will get it from the Microsoft website. Once you download it, the installation is very straightforward because there is nothing to do with a configuration like a cloud or local SQL server, something like that for the installation. So you can simply click on the .exe file and that will complete the installation. Before I start with Power BI, I'm going to disable my Ethernet so that it confirms that Power BI local desktop version doesn't need internet connection to work. Then let's start with Power BI desktop. The first thing, we need a data source, right? For that I have downloaded a sample Excel from Microsoft. So let's paste it here. Then what we're gonna do, we will open Power BI desktop application. Then we point the Excel sheet as a source of data. Then we prepare some nice graphs using the Power BI visualization and field properties. Then we will see how we can save it or how we can share the report using this Power BI desktop. So the Power BI desktop application is ready. The next step is to import or to connect our data source, and it is easy. It's a straightforward in Power BI. So let's close this pop-up wizards, and then what you see in the sign in is a collaborate and share, which once we have license Power BI cloud license, then or report server license, we can do that, but that is not our priority now. Now let's point out the Excel file that we just copied, so I can show you a simple demo of Power BI report. So let's open it. So we can see some progresses related to the load, evaluation, then connection in model, something like that. So modeling is very important in Power BI. but I'm not going to talk about it because our topic is to understand about the different versions and purpose. So let's focus on our topic. So what you see in the right side is a visualization and field. So the field will have the columns in the Excel. So once it complete the load, you will see the columns in the Excel sheet as fields. So we can use those fields. We can expand the sheet one. Then we can select like two columns, let's say. For example, I take date and profit. Then we can select one of the visualization that we prefer. For example, a pie chart or a column chart, something like that. Then the Power BI page will have a related graph based upon the field and the visualization we selected. And if you want one more, we can use another visualization tool. Then we can point out what are the field which we need for this graph. So I selected discount, then I'm gonna select profit. So now we have a simple report with some visualization. You can make it more beautiful by adding some text and colors and all. So let's now try to save this. We have option export. This is how we can share the report, but it is just a PDF file with whatever the page you designed, including whatever the graphs you put. You can export it as a PDF and share it. This is one option with the local application. The second option, we can save this as a PBIX file, which is a format of Power BI files, and this can be shared with other people so they can use their Power BI desktop to edit this report, and they can also export it as a PDF for this. So these are the options with Power BI desktop. So now you understood what is a Power BI desktop application. Let's talk about Power BI service. So Power BI service is a report editing and collaboration for teams and organizations. So you can prepare reports in Power BI desktop, and with the help of Power BI service, you can share this with the other people. So you can have multiple peoples working on one reports, and also you can publish it in one location, so all the people who have who are a part of this organization can see it. So Power BI service provides you the capability to share and to collaborate or to distribute the reports to the entire organization, and also based upon the license, it provides additional AI and advanced capabilities also. So the basic difference between Power BI desktop and Power BI service: Power BI desktop is for the local computer, but if you have Power BI service, then the Power BI desktop application can publish those works or distribute those works, and they can collaborate with other colleagues in the organization, and they can do it. Let's see how to do this now. So now let's return back our network connection. I'm sure now it is clear for everyone that we don't need internet connection to work on Power BI desktop application. So now I have internet connection, so I'm gonna sign in using one of the Office 365 which have a Power BI license. Okay, so now we can see that this is using Power BI service. I have logged in with a account, Office 365 account, which have license, Power BI license. So if you want to see what kind of license I have, let's try that. So you can see that I have a Power BI license. So this is the license which I have. So, and you can see I have a workspace here. So this is the workspace, and there is nothing shared with me at this moment. So what I'm gonna do now, I will as I already signed in, I can publish this report to Power BI, and this will be published in the Office 365 or the Power BI service, the cloud workspace. So you can see I select my workspace, then I publish it. So later it will be available in the Power BI, the licensed one. So this is the advantage, which have additional advantages also, in addition to this workspace, which also provide additional artificial intelligence and more visualization capabilities. But basically this is the difference between the desktop application and the desktop application with Power BI service license. So you can see in the my workspace I have the report ready, and if I click on that I can see the report here. So and also like I can do some minimum changes here, and I can also share this with other colleagues also. For example, if I want to share my workspace with other colleagues, I can share. So many people can work in one workspace. So this is another advantage of Power BI service. So we will miss this capability if we don't have a license and it is just a local application only. So we're done with Power BI local desktop application. Then Power BI service. We saw how we can publish the Power BI desktop reports to Power BI service. So Power BI service provides you the collaboration and distribution mechanism for the reports into your organization. Now what we have is on-premises Power BI report server. If you don't prefer, or your organization don't prefer to go for a cloud-based service, but still you need the capabilities what Power BI service gives. For example, publishing the report, working collaboration with other colleagues for Power BI reports and all. This can be achieved using Power BI report server. So this is a on-premises a .exe application which you can install behind your firewall. Then you will have a web browser like we saw for the Power BI service. We just logged in and we saw the workspace and the published reports we view from the Power BI service portal. Similar to that, we will have a web browser for Power BI report server, and this will be working completely behind your firewall. So with that we can achieve a similar kind of service for on-premise. So in the coming section of this video, we will be talking more about Power BI report server, how we can set up, how we can create a report, how we can publish using Power BI report server on premises. So before we start our demo on how to implement Power BI on-premises report server, I think it's good to have a look at what exactly it is, like we saw for the desktop and also Power BI service. Then we can go for the step-by-step implementation demo. So let's connect to the on-premises server. So this demo, I run all the virtual machines in Microsoft Azure. You can see that I have a domain controller, then a Power BI report server, an SQL server, and for some demonstration I have a client machine also. So I logged into my Power BI server. So you can see that I have a Power BI desktop application, and also I have a Power BI server installed. That is why this report configurations and the other things going. So all the services are up and running. So what I can do, I can click on this URL. You can see it's a local IP, and that will open something similar what we see in the Power BI as service. So if I click on this reports, I can see the reports. So this is what exactly we saw in the Power BI service. So the difference is Power BI service is cloud Office 365 suite, one of the product in Office 365 suite, and here it is a completely on premises setup. So you can see this also with some samples I prepared from Microsoft SQL database. So what you see now is the report generated in on premises. So if I want to do some edit, what I can do, I can click on the Power BI desktop version, which is also installed in the same server, but you can install it somewhere else also. So let's open the report from the report server so that I can click on the report server and connect it. So the same link, and I can choose one of the report I want to work. Let's choose the report 2, then click OK. And that has opened the report which I prepared and published. Now you can see the publish option here to the on-premises report server is grayed out, because to publish from desktop application to on-premises report server or the cloud Power BI service, you need to be have at least a Power BI Pro licensed. So at present I don't have any license applied, so that is why I'm not able to publish. If I make any changes, for example, the publish button is still grayed out, so we need to provide license, Power BI Pro license for this. And also we can go for a new report like we did in the previous demo. So this graph, what you see, the data source is SQL database. Instead of that, we can connect an Excel workbook and create a new graph, and we can publish once we license this. So I select on the get data, then Excel workbook, then let's copy the sample Excel sheet, then open it here, select a sheet, then load it. So you can see 700 rows added. Then we can create some discount, then profit graph with some graphs here. Then we can publish this. So let's save it. I will save as demo. Then publishing is asking for an email, so I don't have email. So here also you can see that it gives option publish email. So I don't have the email address at present now. My interest is to publish this to the on-premises, so I put cancel actually. So let's go and click on the save as and select Power BI report server. Then we select the report server and let's put demo PBIS. So this is going to save this to the Power BI server. So if you click on the take me there, it's opens here. Let's refresh the Google Chrome, so that will be easy for us to see. So you can see that the demo report is here. So this is how you can do in on-premises. You can save it, and or you can see that you don't have an option to publish here. So if you make some changes and if you try to publish, the publish is degraded because I don't have a license actually. But what I can do, I can save as and I can do the changes like this, so that will overwrite. So if you look, I can see the change here. So this is how the Power BI on-premises setup work. So let's summarize our understanding about Power BI. We started with Power BI Desktop, which is a free and for local computer, which provides us the data analysis and report creation tool to visualize or to transform the data. And if you want to share this to other colleagues, like you create a workspace and you share with other colleagues, you have two options. Either you go for an on-premises solution or a cloud-based solution. For on-premises solution, you need to have a Power BI report server. This is installed in your data center. Coming to the Power BI service, the second choice you have, it's a cloud-based service which provide you some advanced artificial intelligence and visualization capabilities in addition to the collaboration. So with Power BI service, you can share your reports, you can collaborate with other colleagues to different workspaces. So to work locally, you just need Power BI Desktop without any license. To collaborate, to work with, to publish the reports, you have two solutions: Power BI Report Server, that is for on-premises; Power BI Service, that is a part of Office 365, a cloud-based service. So let's talk about the license and the type of license. So Power BI desktop, as I told, it's free, but you can only create your own workspace and you can see your content there only. You cannot share the reports that you prepared to other workspaces. Power BI Pro, it's a cloud-based service which is included in M365 E5, or you can buy it as a separate license. Then you can share the reports to other colleagues or other workspaces. Then Power BI Premium is an advanced licensing version with advanced features which provide you per user or per capacity based. And also Power BI Report Server, which is an on-premises solution which also provide Power BI Pro features and some advanced features also. So up to this, in this video, I was trying to make you understand what are the different components of Power BI and how each components work. Now we are going to see a step-by-step demo on how to deploy Power BI Report Server for on-premises. And to achieve this, you have two options, licensing option. One is to have a Power BI Premium capacity-based license, or to go with an SQL Server Enterprise Edition with software assurance. With these two, you will get Power BI Report Server on premises, so you can install it and use it without internet. So the steps we have to perform in order to set up a on-premises Power BI Report Server is to have a domain controller. So we need to install and configure a domain controller, which is already done. Then you need to have an SQL Server. So SQL Server is there. I joined into the domain controller, but I didn't install and configure it. We will do it together. Then we need to install SQL Report Server. Once we're done with the SQL Server, the next step is to set up Power BI Server. We have to download and install Power BI Report Server. Then we need to configure it. Once we've done that, we can download Power BI desktop application. Then we can create Power BI reports. Then we can publish. We can save into the Power BI Report Server. And to publish, to create multiple workspaces and to publish, you need to have Power BI Pro license, which I can demonstrate at the end. Then we'll see a client machine, how you can set up a Microsoft Power BI Windows app, which doesn't have the capability of edit, but still it can be helpful to view the reports in a nice, better way to visualize it. So let's begin our step-by-step demo. We have a domain controller, then SQL server, then a BI server. So later we will add one more Windows client virtual machine also. The first thing what we're gonna do is to install SQL server in the SQL virtual machine. So let's do that. So I'm going to log in to my SQL server, which is already joined to the domain controller. The step with that we are going to do is to install the SQL server. So I'm going to use SQL Server Developer Edition. SQL Server Developer Edition is a fully featured version similar to Enterprise Edition. The only difference is you are not supposed to use it in the production environment. So this is totally for development and test database in non-production environment with all the features. So let's install it, select custom and complete the installation. Once the installation completed, then you will get SQL Server Installation Center where you have to click on the installation option. The first three options we need to install: SQL Server Standalone, SQL Server Reporting Service, and SQL Server Management Tools. So let's begin from the first one. And here you choose Developer Edition, then click Next, accept the license terms and agreement. Then you can check for the updates, otherwise you can skip it. Then from the features selection, select the necessary features. So the important feature for us is the database engine. So I selected database engine service, then click Next. Then configure the instance ID. So the default is MS SQL Server. I'm not going to change it. Then the next step we have is the server configuration. So here the service accounts startup type, so you can change it to automatic or manual or disabled. So I will keep it all automatic. Then click Next, and the next part is to configure the authentication mode. So you can use Windows authentication mode only, or you can have SQL and a Windows authentication, a mixed mode actually. So here I'm going to choose a mixed mode authentication, but it's okay to use Windows only authentication mode. So once you give the password, then you can specify the SQL Server Administrator any Windows account. So my preference is the current user, so that's it. Then click next. Then it provides us a summary of our choices for the installation. Then simply click next. That complete the installation part. So the installation has completed successfully. The next step is to install the SQL Server Management tool. Then we have to install the reporting service. So once you click on the install option, that will take you to the web browser and provide you the installation exe file. So when you click on it, you will see that it direct to the SQL management tool downloadable page. Then you can simply download it. So once the download complete, install it. Then it will prompt for a restart it. Then we'll install the report server. Before we install our report server, SQL report server, let's do some configurations here. We need to enable the TCP IP. Then we will be able to connect to our SQL server from other servers. So once you did, just restart the SQL server. So for that, we can just go to the SQL server instance, then just stop and start, or you can restart it, both is fine. Then let's install the third component in the SQL server, that is our SQL Server Report Server. So click on the installation and you can see SQL Server Reporting Service we are going to install. Then we need to download it and install it like we did the SQL Studio Management. We need to download it from the Microsoft website and install it. Now the exe file is ready, it's downloaded. Let's click and install it. The installation is straightforward, like we installed the SQL Server and Management Studio. Just select the reporting services, then select Developer Edition, then click next and complete the installation. Now the installation has completed. The next step in front of us is to configure the report server. So let's click on the configure and the report server connection. So remember, this is SQL reporting service, okay, not the Power BI. We didn't yet to there. Now we are going to configure the SQL server database for this SQL reporting service. So Power BI work with SQL server and SQL reporting service. You cannot simply install the Power BI server and expect everything works. No, the dependency of Power BI on premises is to have SQL server and SQL server reporting service. So let's create a report server database. So the test connection is okay because it's a same server. Then just click next. That will create a new database required for the report server, and we can provide the credential that we prefer to use here. Then complete the wizard. That will create a database for the SQL reporting service. When we configure the Power BI server, we need to point all these in the Power BI server configuration. We'll do it together. So we finished with the database part. Next we are going to configure web service URL, and this can be configured from the web service URL option just below the service account. So here we use the IP address TCP port 80. So it's a HTTP. For this demo, HTTP is more than enough, but in production environment, it's good to have a HTTPS certificate for this service. So we did with the web service URL. The next is to configure the service account. So service account is, we are going to use the same account which we use for other activities, but in a real environment you can have a service account, like a separate service account for all these activities. So here you can see the service account is asking to back up the encryption key, and this key we need to upload into the Power BI configuration. So for accessing the SQL reporting server, this key is critical. So we need to save this key. So with this activity, we saved the key with a password, and we will copy this to the Power BI server. Then while configuring Power BI server, we will import this so that the Power BI server can access a report server using the encryption key. So we have completed all the necessary configurations in an SQL server for Power BI report server. The next step is to install the Power BI report server application into the Windows server that I prepared. So let's log in to the Power BI Windows server and download the Power BI server. So you can search for Power BI report server. Then you will get the exe, the download option. You can see a free trial option here. Just click on it. Then when we install it, we select the developer version, so you can do unlimited testing forever without any trial period. Once you complete the exe file download, double click and complete the installation. So the installation window, you can see install Power BI report server. Then you can install a developer edition. Then click next. During the installation, it will tell you that the SQL server is one of the requirement or dependency for report server, and this installation only install the Power BI report server. That's fine because we have SQL server ready. So the installation has completed and it's time to configure the report server. So the report server configuration, Power BI report server configuration is some way similar to the SQL report server that we just configured before. So let's see, click on the configure report server option and then we'll see what are the configurations we need. So this is gonna connect to the instance that we just installed. Then in the next step, we need to configure service account, web service URL, database, and web portal URL. So let's start from the service account. I'm going to enter my domain credentials, or you can use any service account. It's fine. Then click on the apply. That will complete the configuration of service account. Then next we are going to add the encryption keys that we just backed up in the reporting server configuration of SQL. So let's click on the restore, then point out those keys, then complete the encryption keys wizard. So click on the restore button, then point the location, then enter the password which we were used to save the same encryption key, then click OK. And that complete this part. So we're done with the service account and encryption keys now. The next task we have is to configure the web portal URL and web service URL. So let's click on the web service URL and just select the IP address, then click apply. That will complete the virtual directory configuration for web service URL. Then let's click on the web portal URL. This URL is what we use for the viewing the report and connecting to the report servers. Then the final step in this is to configure the database. So click on the change database option, then create a new report server database. So I'm going to use the SQL server which I prepared, then the new database name, that is report server database. Then complete the wizard with the credentials. And now the database configuration has completed. So we did with the service account, web service URL, database and web portal. Now to open the web portal URL, click on the web portal and this is the URL. Once you open this, here I opened it in the Google Chrome. So you can see 10.0.0.7 is the IP address. So this is the report server. Now we can download Power BI desktop edition from here. So there is a difference between the Power BI that we use for the Power BI service and also Power BI for the report server. You can see that this is something optimized for the desktop, optimized for the Power BI report server on premises, and you will see RS in the application, and for the normal Power BI for this as a service or for the local desktop application you will not see that. So once the download complete, we can install it. The installation is straightforward. We just install it. There is nothing to configure during the installation. So the installation has completed. Now let's click on the finish, and that will launch the Microsoft Power BI desktop version, which is completely optimized, and you can see the edition January 2022. So this edition will be displayed when you open this Power BI for the report server. Power BI as a service, this you will not see in the Power BI service because it's automatically updated. So when it release the next version, then you need to download it and install it. It is not automatic. So the Power BI has opened. Now we can do the same like from the Excel or from the SQL database. We can bring out the field, then we can create visualization chart, then we can publish to our report server, or we can save as a PDF, or whatever the task we need, we can do it. So far we did our demo with Excel. So I thought it's good to prepare something from SQL server database. So I prepared a sample SQL database with the samples available from Microsoft website. So we are going to utilize these records. We will connect these records to our Power BI desktop. Then we do some visualization, some chart. Then we will try to save this into the report server. So click on the get data option. So you have many places to reach to the SQL data source. Actually get data from another source, or import data from SQL server, or on the top you see get data. Somehow you reach here get SQL server database, then click on the connect. So here you have to fill up the SQL server name, then database is optional, then the mode of connectivity that you prefer to SQL database. It can be import or direct query. Then once you select your choices, then you have to enter the credentials, then there you complete the connection. For the credentials, I will use my current login account, so that is fine. Then you can see now it displays all the tables in my SQL server database. So I can select one of the table, then I can click on the load option. That will take all the rows, all the Excel data, and will be displayed in the field like what we had in the Excel. When we select get data from the Excel, all the columns were displayed in the field. So the same here, all the SQL columns will be displayed in the field. So now the fields are ready. Let's select one or two field, then one visualization option, then we get something nice for our report. In Power BI service, we published this to a workspace, but here it is different. Here we have to save it to the Power BI report server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this to Power BI report server. So I entered the URL, and in the next step it asked me the file name. I give report 1. Then it saved the report 1 to the Power BI report server. So we are done. Now if we look back to our report server web portal, then it will show the new report that we just saved actually. So this is how you can set up an on-premises Power BI report server, and this is how you can create a report and save this into the Power BI report server. Another way to display your Power BI report is you can report using Power BI Windows application. This you can install to Windows 10 PCs by by using Windows Store, because from the Windows Store you can download it. Then you can see that it is asking me to either connect to the Power BI service or the SQL server. So like I enter my Power BI details, SQL server details, then I can get all my reports here, and I can have a full screen here and report here. So what you see now are these samples. That is not my interest. So I will select SQL Server 2016, then enter the server name. So you can see that the server name is not just a name, it is a URL. So it's HTTP for me. So HTTP, then Power BI server address, then reports. Then my username and password. Then click on the sign in, and you can see that the reports that we prepared is displayed here. We can click on it and that will show the reports, and you can see an icon there to switch it into the presentation mode, so that instead of having a web view, or if you want to have like a full screen view, this simple Windows app will help you to achieve this. So we have a full screen report using Windows application for Power BI. So that is all in this demo. Let's summarize what we have learned. We started with what is a Power BI. Then we saw the different components: Power BI desktop, Power BI service, which is a cloud version, then Power BI report server, which is the on-premises solution. So Power BI desktop, it works locally without internet, without any additional services. You can create, visualize reports with many different sources of data. When you want to publish it into different workspace, then you can choose a cloud solution, that is Power BI service, or you can choose a on-premises solution, that is Power BI report server. That's a main difference, which also provide additional capabilities to have advanced visualization of the reports also. So that is it. Thank you for watching this video, and for more videos, subscribe my YouTube channel.